Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we need to have a serious conversation about the state of modern gaming. Those digital worlds that define so many of our childhoods are fundamentally shifting and not for the better. If you find this breakdown helpful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps out. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's get into it. Before we even look at the numbers or the history of how we got to 2026, we just have to be honest about how gaming actually feels right now. Across forums, social media, and friend groups, everyone is basically saying the same thing: modern games just aren't fun anymore. A decade ago, purchasing a video game was like buying a fully constructed, beautifully furnished house. You bought it, it was yours, and the experience was complete. Today, playing a modern AAA title feels like leasing an apartment where the corporate landlord puts coin-operated locks on your fridge and embeds billboard advertisements in your windows. It's no longer about escaping into a fun world. It's a calculated system designed to squeeze every penny out of the player. This year, the cracks in the gaming industry are impossible to ignore. The global video game market is currently sitting at a massive $255 billion, and it's projected to climb even higher by the end of the decade. Yet, despite all this wealth, the actual experience of playing has turned into a digital chore. Games have morphed into psychological traps built on the fear of missing out, using daily login bonuses and timed battle passes to keep you hooked. A lot of players are realizing that finishing a modern game doesn't even bring joy anymore. It just brings relief that the grueling checklist of tasks is finally over. A lot of this burnout traces right back to the industry's obsession with the live service model. In the early 2010s, games like World of Warcraft and Destiny proved you could keep players engaged for years and generate a steady stream of revenue. But things completely changed in 2017 with Fortnite. By using a free-to-play model driven by a battle pass and cosmetic microtransactions, Fortnite pulled in an unbelievable $9 billion in its first 2 years. This massive success kicked off a gold rush for corporate executives. Suddenly, publishers demanded that almost every studio pivot to making forever games, titles that never really end and just act as permanent digital storefronts. Traditional, story-driven single-player games were viewed as a waste of time, because they didn't offer a way to keep monetizing the player after the initial $70 purchase. But these companies forgot one crucial detail: our free time is limited. While the market can support a few massive live service games, it is mathematically impossible for everyone to treat 5 different games like a part-time job. As the market flooded with clones, extreme player fatigue set in. The years 2025 and 2026 quickly became a graveyard for billion-dollar ambitions. We watched high-profile disasters unfold where games that took half a decade and hundreds of millions of dollars to make collapsed within weeks. Open-world bets like Mind's Eye from Build a Rocket Boy totally missed the mark, failing to retain users post-launch. Remedy Entertainment tried to force co-op mechanics into an established single-player universe with FBC, Firebreak, and players completely rejected the misalignment. Live service shooters like Sony's Conquered and 1047 Games' Splitgate 2 saw massive drop-offs right out of the gate due to a desperately oversaturated market and heavy monetization. In fact, reports show that over half of the live service games launched in 2025 lost 90% of their player base shortly after release. Even absolute juggernauts like Call of Duty couldn't escape the backlash, with Treyarch's Black Ops 7 suffering heavily from franchise fatigue after forcing an always-online requirement for its single-player campaign. Despite these overwhelming market signals and massive financial losses, the corporate machine just won't stop. The 2026 State of the Game Industry report from GDC revealed that a third of developers at AAA studios are still locked into making live service games. There's a massive disconnect between what executives are demanding and what players actually want to play. While the executives at the top protect themselves with massive bonuses, the actual developers are facing a brutal reality. The human cost of this financial mismanagement is just staggering. During the pandemic, global lockdowns caused a huge spike in gaming. Companies overreacted to this temporary boom, buying up studios and hiring aggressively like the lockdown numbers would last forever. When the world opened back up and gaming habits returned to normal, the industry was left with bloated budgets and way too many staff. What followed was a brutal wave of layoffs. Between 2022 and July 2025, an estimated 45,000 video game industry jobs were wiped out. And the bleeding didn't stop there. The cuts have continued deep into 2026, tearing apart studios all over the world. The devastation has hit North America especially hard, with major hubs taking massive hits. Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite and the Unreal Engine, laid off over 1,000 employees globally, wiping out about 20% of its workforce. CEO Tim Sweeney admitted they were simply spending way more money than they were making. Over in Montreal, Eidos laid off 124 employees and lost its studio head of 19 years while completely canceling a AAA open-world game that had been in development since 2019. Nearby in Toronto, Ubisoft slashed 40 jobs, heavily impacting quality assurance and localization teams. Meanwhile, EA laid off staff at its Vancouver-based Full Circle studio, the team behind the highly anticipated Skate revival. We also saw studios in the US getting gutted, like Bend Studio losing roughly 40 employees as they transitioned projects, and Red Storm Entertainment laying off 105 people and effectively ending active game development after 30 years. On the mobile side, companies like Playtika cut 500 jobs globally, explicitly citing a pivot toward AI-dependent resources. The numbers behind this are incredibly depressing. The latest GDC survey of over 2,300 professionals showed that 28% of all global respondents had experienced a layoff within the past 2 years. In the US, it's even worse, sitting at 33%. This instability is terrifying the next generation of talent, with 74% of surveyed students saying they are genuinely worried about finding a job in this industry. Making games has turned into a state of constant anxiety, where even making a great game doesn't protect you from being fired to make a quarterly earnings report look better. Making matters worse is how incredibly long it takes to make a game now. A decade ago, we get a whole trilogy like Mass Effect in 5 years, or 4 Batman Arkham games in 6 years. Today, a single AAA game routinely takes 5 to 7 years to make. A big reason for this is the absolute obsession with photorealism. Marketing teams demand 4K resolutions and mind-blowing ray tracing, which means the time it takes to create a single in-game model has skyrocketed. Budgets are ballooning out of control, with high-end games frequently costing $200 million to $300 million to make. When a game costs $300 million, publishers get terrified of taking risks. They can't afford to experiment with cool new gameplay mechanics because one flop could bankrupt the studio. So we end up with games that feel completely soulless and safe. We wait half a decade for a game that looks like real life, but plays exactly like something from 2014. What we're really seeing is the corporate takeover of our hobby. The passionate gamers and creatives who built this industry have been pushed aside by executives and private equity firms. These corporate leaders don't care about fun, they care about average revenue per user and keeping shareholders happy with endless growth. The wildest example of this is the recent buyout of Electronic Arts. In a massive $55 billion deal, the largest all-cash sponsor take-private investment in the history of the interactive entertainment sector, EA is being bought by a consortium led by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, alongside private equity firms Silver Lake and Affinity Partners. Once the deal goes through in 2026, the PIF will effectively secure 93.4% ownership of the massive publisher, with Silver Lake and Affinity holding the remaining scraps. But here's the scary part. To pull this off, the buyers took out $20 billion in leveraged debt through a syndicate led by JP Morgan. When a company is suddenly carrying $20 billion in debt, they have to squeeze every possible dime out of their products to service that load. This means we're going to see even more aggressive monetization across all of EA's games, effectively killing low-margin, high-art projects in favor of short-term cash grabs. We're already seeing the results of this corporate greed with the new free-to-play Skate game. Fans waited over a decade for a new entry, only to get hit with ridiculous paywalls. The breaking point happened in Season 3 when the developers released the Isle of Grom, a fan-favorite tutorial map. Instead of just letting people skate it, they locked unrestricted access behind a premium pass. Free players have to grind for 500 RIP chips just to buy a temporary 24-hour pass. This totally betrayed the developers' early promises that map areas wouldn't be paywalled. The community was furious, launching a boycott under the hashtag #NoPaywallSkate, refusing to spend any money until the map was made free. It's a perfect example of how the endless demand for recurring revenue is destroying player trust and turning gaming into a constant shakedown. And if the microtransactions weren't enough, publishers are now shoving dynamic ads into our faces. The in-game advertising market is exploding, projected to hit $131 billion by 2026. While ads used to just be annoying on free mobile games, they are now invading full-price AAA console and PC titles. Modern games use systems that let real-world brands bid on virtual billboards and loading screens in real time. So you pay $70 for a game, and you still get tracked and targeted by the exact same ad algorithms you see on social media. It shatters the immersion and proves that publishers are double-dipping, making you pay to get in the door and then selling your eyeballs to the highest bidder. To cut corners on those ballooning budgets, executives are also forcefully pushing generative AI into game development. From the corporate perspective, AI is a magic wand to reduce human headcount, pump out generic assets, and write NPC dialogue for cheap. But the people actually making the games hate it. The 2026 GDC report showed that while 36% of the industry is using AI, the sentiment around it is crashing. Over the last 3 years, positive feelings toward AI have completely collapsed, dropping from 21% in 2024 down to a mere 7% in 2026. Meanwhile, negative sentiment has surged from 18% up to a dominant 52%. It's largely seen as a blunt instrument for justifying layoffs rather than actually improving the art form. Players are noticing it too, calling this AI-generated content exactly what it is: slop. Technologies like DLSS5 are even taking heat for ruining the artistic intent of games by algorithmically smoothing over carefully crafted lighting. Replacing passionate artists with algorithms might be cheaper, but it strips the soul right out of the game, treating our hobby like a cheap commodity on a spreadsheet. But it's not all doom and gloom. While the giant AAA publishers stumble over their own greed, we are in the middle of an incredible indie renaissance. Because independent developers aren't chained to $20 billion debts or sovereign wealth funds, they can actually take risks and make fun games. The GDC report noted that 56% of developers are self-funding their projects to avoid the corporate publishing machine. Games like Clair Obscur, Expedition 33 and Silksong are dominating conversations because they offer real passion, incredible gameplay, and complete experiences without trying to sell you a battle pass. Players are voting with their wallets, dropping the exhausting live service chores to support games that respect their time. The future of gaming isn't in $300 million budgets or AI-generated filler. It's in real people making genuinely fun games for the rest of us to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, drop a comment down below with your thoughts on the current state of gaming, and please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe out there, play what you love, and I'll see you in the next video.